I'm standing in one of Chad Robo's Gracie Barra MMA academies. Gracie Barra was founded on the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It originated in 1914 when the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu champion Konde Koma migrated to Brazil, where he was introduced to the Gracie family. Gasto Gracie was an influential businessman who helped him get established. To show his gratitude, Kumo offered to teach traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu to Gracie's oldest son, Carlos, who then passed his knowledge to his brothers. Gasto's youngest son, Helio, was always a very physically frail child. He would run up a flight of stairs and have fainting spells, and no one could figure out why. At age 14, he moved in with his older brothers, who lived and taught jiu-jitsu in a house in Rio de Janeiro. Following doctors' recommendations, Helio would spend the next few years limited to only watching his brothers teach. But one day, when Helio was 16, a student showed up for class and Carlos was not around. Helio had memorized all the techniques from watching his brothers teach, and he offered to start the class. When the class was over, Carlos showed up and apologized for his delay. But the student had enjoyed the class with Helio so much that he said he would like to continue learning from him. Carlos agreed, and Helio became an instructor. Most of the techniques he had learned from watching Carlos teach were difficult for him to execute because of his frail physique. He began modifying the techniques to accommodate his weak body, emphasizing the use of leverage and timing over strength and speed. Helio modified virtually all of the techniques, and through trial and error, he created Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Out of one man's frailty came a powerful new system. To prove its effectiveness, Helio openly challenged all of the reputable martial artists in Brazil. He fought 18 times, including matches against the world heavyweight wrestling champion, Wladek Zabisco, and the number 2 ranked judoka in the world, Kato, whom Helio choked unconscious in just 6 minutes. Well, that victory qualified him to enter the ring with the world champion, Masahiko Kimura, the best jiu-jitsu fighter Japan has ever produced. He actually outweighed Helio by almost 80 pounds. Well, Kimura won the match, but was so impressed with Helio's techniques that he asked him to teach in Japan. The world's best recognized Helio's dedication to the refinement of the art. Helio Gracie is widely regarded as the first sports hero in Brazilian history. He was a dedicated family man who exemplified a healthy lifestyle. He was the epitome of courage, discipline, determination, and an inspiration to people everywhere. When I first heard the story of the Gracie legacy, it immediately spoke to me as a man because, in many ways, that's how I want to be known. I want to be a dedicated family man who exemplifies a healthy lifestyle, a man of courage, discipline, determination, and an inspiration to people everywhere. Grandmaster Helio Gracie said, "The jiu-jitsu that I created was designed to give the weak ones a chance to face the heavy and strong." Well, that's one of our goals. We want to learn techniques and principles that will give us a chance to face some heavy and strong opponents to authentic manhood. Opponents like anger, rage, selfishness, and materialism. Opponents like fear, greed, lust, pornography, passivity, boyishness, laziness, self-righteousness, and a very real, sinister force that is at work behind it all. Now, if that sounds hard or uncomfortable or scary, welcome to the quest. This is Fight Club. In our quest for authentic manhood, we know there are some things worth fighting for. Things like integrity, honor, purity, discipline, family, and faith. Now don't confuse this Fight Club with the 1999 movie with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. I think Meatloaf had a role in that one too, no pun intended. It was a dark plot where this young urban professional, who's a ticking time bomb insomniac, encounters a soap manufacturer named Tyler Durden. They channel primal male aggression into a shocking new form of therapy. Their concept catches on, and underground fight clubs start forming in every town. The fight clubs then get out of control, and the characters begin to spiral towards oblivion. Well, that's not what this Fight Club is about. But, you know, the tag from that movie was compelling. Tyler Durden said, "How much can you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight?" I think that's a great question. How do you know what you're really made of until you're tested? Did you know the Scriptures reflect this concept? It says that it's through our struggles that we are developed into the men we were designed to be. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4 says this, "Consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open and shows its true colors. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well-developed, not deficient in any way." Sounds like if you try to avoid the fight and wiggle out of the conflict prematurely, you'll become immature, undeveloped, Scripture says, and deficient. Did you get that? Pressure can be good. Trials are for our good. Learning how to fight is part of the process in becoming an authentic man. Over the course of these 12 rounds together, I'm going to use a lot of different resources that I think will be useful to us. I want to know, and I think you need to know, what sociologists, psychologists, journalists, anthropologists, humanists, pop stars, and presidents, among others, have to say. And it should not come as a surprise that the foundation of everything we do in the quest is what we like to call the age-old wisdom of the Scriptures. So I'll refer to the Bible often, but everyone listen carefully, especially those of you who are not followers of Christ. Maybe you're just kicking the tires on Christianity, or maybe you're a little guarded about it all. Maybe you're even a little cynical. Wherever you are spiritually, you are welcome here. And I promise I will not force my religion on you, because religion is the last thing you need. In fact, religion is one of our biggest opponents to a relationship with God. We'll talk more about that in another session. But for now, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is go over the rules of Fight Club. And the first rule of Fight Club, it's the same as the movie, but with a twist. The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club. You must first pass the test of authenticity and respect the rule of confidentiality. What's the test of authenticity? Well, one of the things we say a lot in the quest is that this is not a program, it's a process. So I don't care how much you may enjoy the program, if your actions and your behaviors, your attitude and your choices do not support our purpose, goals, and principles, then you have nothing to say. Your words will be hollow. You are nothing more than a cheap advertisement and a meaningless cliche. None of us are going to be perfect, but you must be moving forward. You must be advancing in your manhood. If you choose to be idle, then you have nothing to say. Now, it's true that the quest has impacted hundreds of men over the years, but there are also many men who gained the knowledge but never engaged in the fight. If your perception is that this is just a class to attend and not a way to live, then you'll have nothing to support your words. Jesus said a very similar thing to His followers in Luke 6:46. He said, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I say?" You know, it's like He was saying, I don't want you talking about me and saying that you're following me when your life contradicts your words. I think He was saying, put up or shut up. With regards to the rule of confidentiality, your discussion group must be a safe place. Now, many of the ideas and comments that are discussed are okay to share with others. In fact, talking to others about what you're learning is a vital part of the process. Pulling friends and family into the discussion will help you process the principles that we'll learn. But this is important. Those items of a personal nature are not to be shared without express permission from the man who shared it. Those things are shared in confidence. Those are things you do not talk about outside of Fight Club. Understood? The second rule of Fight Club is this: no man fights alone. We need other men to achieve our common goal of authentic manhood. Stu Weber says in his book, Locking Arms, he says, men need men in order to set masculinity back on its original and magnificent God-designed course. Men learn to be men by standing close to men, by watching men, by locking arms. And then he paints this scenario. He says, just imagine a large car stuck in the sand. When one man puts his back and leg strength against the rear end of the car, nothing happens. Two men might rock it forward a little, but three men pushing together feel the weight yield and the tires claw out of the hole. Three men get the car out of the ditch and back on the road. Some of us have been straining against immovable problems and dug in frustrations for a long time. Every day we push and shove, we grit our teeth and dig in our heels, but the mass doesn't budge. Nothing seems to change. Could it be, Weber asks, that our good God might be allowing these very kinds of situations in our lives to help us learn an elemental truth? Some loads need more than a lone man's strength. Some problems won't budge until two or three friends put their shoulders into it. Solomon, regarded by many as the wisest man that ever lived, said this: two are better than one because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him get up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Can you feel that? It says, pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. You know, in this venue, it reminds me of what Mr. T said as Clubber Lang in Rocky III. Remember? I pity the fool. Well, listen, I pity the man who thinks he doesn't need anybody's help. I pity the man who tries to scale the mountain of manhood alone. I pity the fool who has lived his life pushing people away, keeping everyone at a safe distance, emotionally isolated and deceived by his success. Some men who achieve great success begin to surround themselves with a group of yes men who'll just carry out their wishes. But real leaders don't want to be part of a team like that, so they'll just leave, and pretty soon the successful guy will be surrounded by people who have nothing to say. Then one day he'll realize how empty his life has been, or circumstances will change and he'll look around and need someone, but no one will be there. The scriptures say, pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Let's make this rule a reality. No man fights alone. We all need other men. The third rule of Fight Club is, every man must fight. We're not here to watch the fight. We're here to engage in the fight because real men reject passivity. If you were with us in the Quest for Authentic Manhood series, then you should recognize reject passivity as the first part of the definition of manhood. We're going to amp it up this season in Fight Club. The Apostle Paul told a young man named Timothy to amp it up. He said, fight the good fight of the faith. Well, we'll learn what it means to fight the good fight of faith. Every man must fight because real men know and name their opponents. We're going to get specific and intentional. You may already know what your opponents are. Half the battle is admitting where you're weak and taking the initiative to do something about it. Paul just didn't tell Timothy to fight. He practiced it himself. In 1 Corinthians 9, 26 and 27, he said this, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. If we don't know and name our opponents, we're just shadow boxing. Every man must fight because real men reject passivity. Real men know and name their opponents. So no whining. We will not throw in the towel. The fourth rule of Fight Club: only true contenders allowed. You can't just go through the motions. You can't just share your opinion. Some guys, especially the church guys, know a lot of stuff, but they haven't integrated it into their life. Real manhood requires a willingness to be real. No posers, no pretenders. You have to be willing to make it personal. Some of the biggest posers and pretenders were the religious leaders in the first century. They always went to church. Their praying was like clockwork. It was in public, and people were impressed. But it was all just a show. Jesus said they were hypocrites. He said they were like tombs that were decorated on the outside, but there was death on the inside. In Matthew 23, 27 and 28, Jesus said, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites," He said. "You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness." So only true contenders will benefit from the quest, because real manhood requires men who are willing to be real. Finally, the fifth rule of Fight Club is this: maximum reps are required. The process of manhood requires repetition and accountability, not random participation when it's convenient. Every man who signs up must show up. Now, if you absolutely must miss a session, then you absolutely must do the makeup, and you must be accountable to your group. If you ignore this, you will tap out. If you perceive this to be important, you will do it. Those are the rules of Fight Club. Honoring them will set you up for success. You know, we always start each session of the quest by making some bold promises. I want you to know that what you can expect if you go the distance and stay with me for all 12 rounds. So I want to give you 5 promises to clarify our objective. First of all, for every man who goes the distance, you will receive a broader perspective and a better understanding of the spiritual battle in which we are all engaged. I'll start delivering on this promise in round 3 when we look at our common enemy. Our objective is much broader than self-improvement and achieving a better quality of life. There are eternal implications and supernatural forces at work in every battle we face. Remember that real men know and name their opponents. There are sinister forces working against our quest for real manhood. They've been in place since the beginning of time, and we need to be trained to recognize them, and we need a fight plan to face them. Now, having said that, let me also say, relax. We're not going to get weird and start casting out demons from each other. But we are going to get serious about this. I think, even if you're not a follower of Christ, that you can sense there's something bigger going on around you than just every man's guess of what's right and what's wrong. There's a spiritual battle in which we are all engaged. Here's the second promise. You will discover that you are not alone in the fight. Remember, this is a safe place because confidentiality is respected. And as we begin to get real with each other and talk about our personal weaknesses, our darkest opponents, our spiritual struggles, you will discover that there are others who are going through some of the same things you are. This dynamic of your discussion group is so vital because it enables you to get honest and get the help you need. You don't look at others and say, you know, they're as messed up as me, so what's the point? You look at each other, you find the strength to tackle things together. That leads me to the third promise. For every man who goes the distance, you will have the opportunity to build strong friendships with other men who are pursuing the same goal. This promise goes beyond just discovering that you're not alone. Having a workout partner or a running buddy or someone to do practice drills with helps you to get off your rear and engage in the fight. Men who have fought side by side on the battlefield forge deep, lifelong relationships. If you have just one or two of those kinds of relationships, you are a wealthy man. We'll actually do one round devoted to what real brotherhood is all about. Now, promise number 4. If you go the distance, you will identify key moves to strengthen your core and support your quest for authentic manhood. Our core is our trunk. If a tree has a diseased trunk, it will die. Our core, that area that's unseen, needs to be strong because it affects all those areas that are seen. We'll learn about discipline and consistency. If you've ever done a serious workout program designed to strengthen your physical core, you know how hard it is to do the moves the first week, even the second and third week. But if you stick to it, you start seeing progress. You're energized and you're motivated because you're seeing results. We need a solid 6-pack, figuratively speaking, of course, to support our quest for authentic manhood. And I'm going to show you just how to do that. Finally, promise number 5, for every man who sticks with me and goes the distance, I promise that you will develop your own personalized fight plan for facing your biggest challenges to authentic manhood. In the back of your journal is a section called Fight Plan. This will be a work in progress over our 12 rounds together. As you name your opponents and identify your weaknesses, your biggest challenges to manhood, I want you to write them down. Think about what's been holding you back. I want you to spend some time zeroing in on the real issues. Now, don't just write down, my wife or my boss or the current administration in the White House is holding me back. I want you to think about it and make it personal. Your weaknesses may show up in your relationship with your wife or your boss, but what's behind that? What are they really? Is it anger, selfishness, laziness, materialism? Is it a problem with authority? Is it lust? Is it pornography? Is it self-righteousness? Always feeling that you're right. Always talking maybe and never listening? Is that a weakness? Is it a lack of discipline? Maybe it's time management. Is it a crisis of faith? Maybe you have some serious doubts about what you say you believe. I want you to name your opponents and then start developing a strategy to defeat them. What disciplines do you need to implement? I'm going to be loading you up with key scriptures that you can choose from to memorize. Which men do you need to bring into your life to help you fight the good fight? I'll give you a list of books that have served as key markers for me in my own fights. Which ones will you need to read? What will your fight plan look like? Well, that's more than enough for today. You have the rules of Fight Club, and you have the promises that I will deliver on if you go the distance. At the end of each session, you have the opportunity to engage with other men in discussion. Now, the key word is opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. I really think your discussion group is where the money is. Take time for some brief introductions today, and then use the questions at the end of your outline to get discussion started. Now, since this is our first one, notice the guidelines to keep your group from becoming a free-for-all. Number 1, don't reteach the lesson. Number 2, don't dominate the discussion. And number 3, be sure that everyone has a chance to talk if they want to. Well, that's it. Welcome to Fight Club.